Tell me what the last year has been like for the mountain bike industry.
You know, the demand since last March, April has been, astronomical. So it's tough to get bikes. It's continuing to get tougher, and it's tough to get parts to work on bikes that we did get. From that standpoint, it's been very frustrating. Continued frustration from guests, passed on to us because we can't get people stuff. We don't even have things to show people in the stores.
This pandemic, many of people's favorite activities have been put on hold. However, the popular sport of mountain biking has completely exploded, with sales increasing over 250% between 2019 and 2020. But it wasn't always this way. Mountain biking got its start on the fringes of society in the 1970s in Marin County, California. A small group of bike enthusiasts began to modify their road bikes to better handle rough off-road terrain.
So this is like the 1950s and 1960s in a suburb northwest of San Francisco. A number of us rode bikes to school. One thing led to another, and we started racing, and there were organized road races. This other thing was developing side by side to the road racing, and this was another way to enjoy cycling in the wintertime. And these were riding just cast off old bikes, like maybe you see behind me here. As we were riding there on Mount Tam, eventually, of course, somebody says, well, I'm the fastest down the hill, and somebody's going to beg to differ. And Charlie Kelly is the guy who organized the repack races. You're always trying to figure out how I can just be a little bit better, right? And we'd do modifications on our bikes, better brakes, higher gears, whatever. So Charlie Kelly was important in that one day he says, Joe, here's $300 down on a frame. And I built first a prototype, my first Breezer. By golly, I won that next repack race. Everybody's going, wow, look at this bike. And right there after that race, I sold most of the 10 frames that weren't spoken for yet because you could win on this thing. And of course, we're always trying to make the bikes lighter and faster and of course brake better so you can go faster. We didn't invent mountain biking, or it's just that what we were doing here in Marin touched a nerve with what other people wanted to do, and it's really kind of where it all got going.
In the decades since Joe Breeze and the repack racers kickstarted mountain biking, the sport has gone mainstream, with events like Red Bull Rampage.
What's he got for us? Oh! He flipped the canyon!
World Cup downhill racing.
It's any better, look! Nearly a second into the green now for Loic Bruni then. Up to me, Bruni sprints towards the line, he goes fastest! Look at the time!
And even just YouTube videos getting people excited to go out and ride their bikes.
Alright, so in the last video, we built this ginormous flyover.
Another important factor that has contributed to the growth of mountain biking in the last 40 years is the advancements in technology.
Biggest tech advancement in bikes, specifically mountain bikes, I mean, the suspension and braking side of mountain biking is just out of control and continues to progress.
Most modern mountain bikes feature 2 points of suspension. There's usually a fork in the front and a single air piston in the rear. This design allows the bike to better absorb impacts for the rider when going over rocks, drops, and jumps. Most new mountain bikes today also come equipped with hydraulic disc brakes. These brakes are similar to the kind you might find on a motocross bike. This improved braking system lets the rider go down steeper, faster, and much scarier trails. Today, mountain biking also has a few subcategories of bikes, each with their own specific purpose and riding style.
The different disciplines in mountain biking, to me, there's really only 3 with different branches in those 3. So cross country, enduro, and downhill. In cross country, you could be on a hardtail or full suspension, but primarily it's a pretty aggressive, short travel bike. Enduro, which I would argue is probably the most popular, at least in the Northwest. The bikes still can climb, but they're a little bit more lean towards downhill. So the head tube's gonna be a bit more slack, more travel, just generally more aimed at the downhill section, downhill in general. Kind of take a ski lift or shuttle up, and the bike is really focused on downhill riding.
Another main component of mountain bike culture is trail building. Nowadays, trails are built in backyards, state parks, and even ski resorts. Most mountain bike trails are volunteer built and maintained, with their funding coming primarily from donations.
So I'm Bogli. I am the volunteer director for Northwest Trail Alliance, and I always joke that I came with the property here at Rocky Point. Probably 5-6 years ago, I started building trails, and that was, again, out here at Rocky Point, just because I was out here all the time and the trails needed work, so it was like start maintaining them. Another thing that's super popular now is this idea of flow trails, where the trail is very purpose-built to maintain speed, and a lot of these older trails get kind of kinked and janky, so this is just the flow trail would be the dead opposite of that, where it's beautiful and groomed and flowing and made for high speed, bigger berms, much more built up. In that realm of things, like on like modern trails, like people start building features, like so you can either have a natural rock garden where it's just a bunch of rocks that you have to roll through, or sometimes people even build those. We're working on a climb trail today. I enjoy the challenge of, as a lazy man myself, like finding the easiest way up something and like making that work. So mountain bike trails, they really pulled a lot from how ski trails are rated. So there's green circles, blue, black, and I think there's double blacks, reds, things like that. And there is a standard for it. It also depends on the area too. So everybody jokes about like a Canadian green is, like a black anywhere else in the world kind of thing or whatever. But like here at Rocky Point, our terrain is it's steeper. Like our easy trails are probably harder than a lot of other trails.
Despite this year's growing pains, the mountain biking community remains optimistic about the future of the sport.
It's good that there's a lot more people getting out on bikes when we can get them. Eventually, I'm hoping that the manufacturing side will kind of catch up and people will still be pumped on bikes.
See, I'd love to see Portland Parks and Recreation accept mountain biking as a valid form of exercise and open up some of the Portland parks to mountain biking, some real single track mountain biking.
I like everything that Northwest Trail Alliance is doing and North Coast Trail Alliance as far as like getting the community out to actually work on the trails people are riding. It makes riding those trails a lot more fun if you had a hand in making them and maintaining them.
As long as I'm in the woods with a tool in my hand, I'm pretty happy.